Woo! Back for another Banjocast. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is jamespfp. It's my channel. This is the Banjocast. This is the name. Pitchforks, flaming torches. And I'm getting into yet another round with Blender. I think it's about the 35th instance. Or thereabouts. Now I haven't checked any of my settings here yet. So I might be a few seconds just making sure that everything is lining up the way it should. With this window and that window and this interface and that interface. I noticed a crash, or not a crash, but a bug earlier. Looks like Open Broadcaster isn't getting updated too quickly. I wish it was a little more update, a little more quick would be good. Ah, calculator right away. Excellent. Calculator. Woohoo! And earlier, Janet was telling me, who is this one? Banjocast imminent text needs to be imminent, int or ant, imminentizing. I thought it was nan. I'm not sure. Not entirely sure. I'll keep it off until it's possibly a little more relevant. I got something to eat. Put on a pot of tea. Here it is. Proper Wednesday. I think. Is it still Wednesday? It better be. Dang, it better be. I'll check. Yeah, it's 47 Wednesday. 056727. James PFP reporting. That's the decimalized 47 dot. I could put it up in the thing and start reading it off like a stardate or something. I've been meaning to do that for a while. I think what I should do is to set up some kind of way of doing this where it updates to a text file, this script that I run. And the text file updates a text object here on the screen. That would work really well. So it's a fairly simple code change. I'd have to make a single output to a single text file. I don't know if I'll do that tonight. Very tempting. This morning, tonight. I imagine I might hear from John. John might come on if he isn't sleeping. Or if Monday allows. I've been making some little updates in the period in between. You can see I've laid down some keyframes for Faith. Faith goes from all the way up here. It's incredible, really. She's got to see this. How to put it? She's got to see this in the shot right there. So I had to use that to kind of get an idea how far up the car she would be, and it seems to work out right. And it also told me this. Consequently, to match her motion, and where GK kind of is, he's just getting that vuvuzela and bending over at around the time Faith is clearing the car, or clearing the minivan. Then she goes all the way to there before spinning once more and heading off down the road right on the yellow line. And gosh, we could tell how far she goes. But that's then. This is now. Now is now. I haven't got anything else queued for audio here yet, but I was listening to Kennedy tapes earlier. Maybe that's a little too dry. I don't know what else there would be. Oh, there is one other source for audio. It would probably cost me a little bit of bandwidth that I don't necessarily want to chew up. And that would be to use an online source for audio. And that's it is a little here and there. Kennedy audio, I think I'll save that for another time. Which case, there's a fallback. And his name is Nick. I think we listened to 83 in entirety. Here comes 84.
Christmas period, pop into a shop and it's run by...
This is a good one. Cult of Nick, for something for me to listen to. If you're wondering what it is we're listening to, I'll put up a little warning. Currently playing... This is the Orwell episode. Well, I'm only joking. I'll make fun of it. I'll make some fun of it, though. I'll saying I like making fun. Fun is fun for everybody.
By an Indian woman, and a mate of mine commented as I left, "Ooh, you shouldn't have said Merry Christmas to her." Why not? Well, because, you know, she's not, that's not her religion. She wouldn't, what, like, as if she's going to get offended that I've wished her Merry Christmas. I find those things very, very strange. It's very odd to me when people take the whole idea seriously that a normal person, i.e. not someone who lives inside a tabloid newspaper, is ever going to get offended by someone in the United Kingdom wishing someone else Merry Christmas. And let me tell you something, anyone who did get offended, that's their problem. What was it, Diwali? Whatever it was that she celebrates, he was going, well, what if she said that to you? Yeah, what if she did say Happy Diwali to me? What do you think I'm going to do? I'll say, yeah, nice one. Very, very strange when people let stupid ideas get into their head. And I'm saying now, it's absurd, the idea that anyone ever in this country, ever, has ever been offended by Christmas, ever, that isn't a complete fruitcake. And if you're offended by Christmas, oh dear, I feel very sorry for you. And I tell you what, the woman who works in my corner shop is not bothered. She didn't say Happy Christmas back, but she just smiled, and that's fine. And aye, made me laugh.
This is the Cult of Nick.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible.
So yeah, that would be the great dictator there.
We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that.
Yep.
We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another.
So we totally
In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. It gives abundance, has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness, gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people.
She doesn't make it to that corner.
To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate. The unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people.
That means no more illegal wiretapping of American citizens. No more national security orders to spy on citizens who are not suspected of a crime.
No more wiretapping? Did he say wiretapping? He said wiretapping, didn't he? I'll be damned. How much do we not see in the angle?
Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, let us all unite.
Is I wanted to try two interviews with you. I want to do interview number one, which will go out on September the 11th, on Thursday, and it will be about the 9/11 terror attacks.
Sure.
And then what I was hoping that we could also do is we could do a different sort of interview that would be about some of the wider stuff, the wider issue stuff, and also I was hoping I could talk to you about UFO stuff, because I know you don't cover it. But there's been some massive developments, some of which...
Sure, I'm happy to talk about UFOs.
Brilliant. Okay, that's great.
Oh, my God. Who's that?
Let's dive
Alex
into it.
Jones. Oh, my God.
It's Kerrang! Radio. It's the night before. My name's Nick Majerison, and I'm very excited about our next guest. Listen, this chap is called Alex Jones, and he works over in America.
2 hour
he's
episode.
a radio presenter in America. He's a filmmaker, and he's also sort of the arch conspiracy theorist, the one who basically, if you type in conspiracy theory, you will soon land on Alex Jones, and he's my favourite of the lot. Listen, Alex, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Good to be here again.
Now, listen. First of all, before we do the interview, I want to apologise to you. I want to apologise to you because the last time that I interviewed you, we started talking about religion, and I said it. I think I said when we aired the interview that maybe I pushed that a little bit too far. And you know what? I had emails from people saying that I did. So that wasn't my intention. I apologize.
Well, listen, you don't have to apologize. I appreciate you having me on the show, and you can have whatever views you like. I think it's great that people have free speech, and that's what life's all about. So it's good to be here. On the subject of, quote, arch conspiracy theorist, there are a lot of other people that get into more esoteric things or things that they can't prove. I get into the things that I can document, and Seymour Hersh, the most respected investigative journalist in the United States, Pulitzer Prize winner, just reported that Dick Cheney was planning to have U.S. Navy SEALs dressed up like Iranians in fake Iranian patrol boats made in U.S. shipyards attack Iranian ships or act like they were Iranians and then attack U.S. ships in the Strait of Hormuz so the U.S. could then attack Iranian ships. Now, that came out on Keith Olbermann, MSNBC. That came out in New Yorker magazine. That is just another example of that, and I hope that people will look into that. That's why I talk about government-sponsored terrorism, is because we have hundreds of declassified examples of where our government has staged terror attacks or provocateur attacks or funded terrorists, and in other cases claimed that attacks took place that didn't happen, or planned to carry out attacks that they never did indeed carry out. So there's a whole field of these, hundreds and hundreds, that are admitted, that are not debated. So that's why I'm, quote, the arch conspiracy theorist, is because I simply go off of what is proven, what is admitted, what has been declassified.
But also, I mean, listen, the anniversary of September the 11th, and I mean, first of all, to contextualize what you're saying is that governments do stage attacks in order to trigger wars and that kind of stuff. And that's true. Anyone who disbelieves that just needs to follow up on the history. However, the bit where you and I probably disagree is that the 9/11 attacks, you believe that they're the work of, is it the American government that you think did it?
Well, let me be clear here. People always say, well, if you say it wasn't Al-Qaeda, if you say that it wasn't lone 19 hijackers erected from a subterranean warren in Tora Bora, Afghanistan, then you have to tell us exactly what did happen. What we know is this. The official story is a complete fraud, has been proven to be a fraud. They called the commission independent. It was appointed by Bush. Then even the commission appointed by him said that it was a fraud, that it was a lie, that they were given disinformation. Then we have CIA war games of flying hijacked jets into the exact same buildings at the exact same time at the exact same day. Impossible. We have the hijackers trained at U.S. military bases, embassy heads I've interviewed who wouldn't let them back into the U.S., saying they're flagged as terrorists, Al-Qaeda, and they'd be told that's just their cover. They're really CIA assets. Then you have the explosions in the buildings. You have the eyewitnesses, the firefighters and police I've interviewed who say that they were told, get back, they were going to blow up Building 7. I mean, all just thousands of pieces of evidence. Then you have Operation Northwoods, the official U.S. government plan, ABC News, Baltimore Sun. Baltimore Sun had the headline, U.S. government plan to terrorize U.S. cities as pretext for war. Hijack jets by remote control, bomb D.C., bomb Miami, attack U.S. military bases with U.S. troops dressed up like Cubans and Soviets. Mm-hmm. And then Kennedy, that was way back then, said no, and they killed him. And then it came out, even on PBS and mainstream news, declassified that Richard Nixon wanted to bomb his own Republican National Convention and blame it on peace activists, but that plan got nixed. The point is he wanted to do it. The presidential tapes are released. I mean, all I'm doing is pointing out something that's happened over and over again. And now we have all these neocons and all these people in government and in the full spectrum dominance national security state writing editorials in major papers. Have you seen these in the U.S.? Because they say we sure need another 9/11. It sure helped us. And then PNAC documents written about how great Pearl Harbor attacks are, and Zbigniew Brzezinski writing in the Grand Chessboard about huge catalyzing Pearl Harbor attacks that are needed, and on and on and on and on. I mean, trillions in oil, hundreds of billions in no-bid weapons contracts, getting to shut down political opposition in the U.S. I mean, this is incredible.
The thing is, here's where I'm at, all right? I get that it's easy to punch holes in the official story of 9/11, and anyone who doesn't agree with that, just look into it. I mean, 2 planes, they hit 2 towers and 3 fell down. I mean, that basic bit, when you start looking into it, it gets messy, the official story. But what I've never understood is who is supposed to have done it, and who do you think did it?
Well, let me just be clear, and I hope this makes it on the show. Let me just be clear. I have made 4 films on 9/11. They're all free. But a lot of people then say, well, if it's free, why should I check it out? Some of these films cost me over $100,000 to make, blood, sweat, and tears, traveling around the world. Google Terror Storm after the show tonight. Google Endgame. Google 9/11, the road to tyranny. And you know, it's hard in a soundbite to go over who did it. We present who had the motives, who was involved, who had their hands in it, and then ask people to go investigate our claims for themselves. But this is what happened. As far as we can tell, as far as we can go, and what I've gotten from inside sources. Inside sources that 2 years before mainstream news, USA Today,
Boy, I should have a cigarette right now.
The CIA was running drills of flying hijacked jets in the World Trade Center and Pentagon at the exact same time, told me that they were running drills. So I'm on record 2 years before laying out everything that later came out. You understand that's why I have credibility over it. Because we know what we're talking about. We know what we're going over. And it's hard for me to deal with this, so I get angry sometimes, you know, which is not credible. But the point is that I'm a real person. This isn't a joke or a game. I'm freaked out. You know, this is out of control. So who, as best we can tell, did it? A consortium of intelligence agencies. And at the top, they're all pyramidal, compartmentalized structures. But the international Anglo-American structure, dominated by Western intelligence agencies in the U.S. and England, at the highest levels, coordinated war games, and some of the war games we know had live action drills where they would practice seeing if hijackers, and the government's caught doing this all the time. You'll hear some BATF person got caught trying to sneak a fake bomb through, and they say, oh, it was just a drill. We were testing security. Or Navy SEALs will practice trying to take over a embassy. Or will practice putting bombs under cars, and then sometimes actually stage terror attacks, and then, you know, either they get caught, oh, it was just part of the drill. But the point is, everybody thought this was a drill. And they had live decoys going on board the different aircraft, and then once they were on board the aircraft, we don't know what happened. But we know that these men were trained at U.S. military bases. That was in the Pensacola News Journal, MSNBC, Associated Press, the San Jose Mercury News, with the heads of Defense Language School and the heads of Air Force bases going, we trained these men. These men were at our base. I see their picture on TV. That guy was a U.S. asset. What in the world is going on here? On and on and on, you know, example after example after example of once they got on board those craft, the rest of NORAD, the rest of the government stood down, and you can hear this on the FAA tapes and NORAD tapes saying, I've never seen so much real world during an exercise, meaning they're doing real world drills and taking over planes. I've never, you know, what's going on? What are all these fake inputs on my screen? Who's taking over our computers? And then I have mainstream news admitting that the hijackers had Air Force One codes and were broadcasting stand-down codes as the aircraft were coming in.
Really? The hijackers themselves?
Well, the media says hijackers did that. How ridiculous that they have the daily super-secret codes. And 2 passports, not 1, but 2 passports of hijackers that crashed in the World Trade Centers, Tower 1 and 2, magically come out of their suits, out of their bags, through the fireball, out, and are found. You know, just billions of papers. I mean, just stacks of papers and dust all over lower Manhattan, and magically 2 passports get found in the rubble.
Yeah, and copies of the Quran left. I understand all of that, but this is what I'm saying. It's quite easy to destroy, but it's difficult to build. And what I've always wondered is the official story, certainly that doesn't stand up very well. But what I'm saying is, you know, where does the blame lie? Because that's what I've never quite understood.
Well, the Romans always said, qui bono, or who benefits, who stands to gain from this. That would always be asked in a trial by the magistrates or by the judge. And that's basically what we're dealing with here. We have a government that's totally been taken over by private interests. We have a national security state, shadow government, trillions of dollars of funding over the decades, doing whatever it wants since 1947. Huge continuity of government program, underground bases. They've been caught narcotics trafficking hundreds of times. A CIA aircraft used for torture renditions just crashed in Mexico. Confirmed mainstream news. They now admit CIA aircraft, 3.3 tons of cocaine, pure cocaine. You know, they just do whatever they want, whenever they want. And for the defense contractors, the oil companies, the big banks, to launch a global war against rogue states they don't control, and to crack down and have domestic police states domestically, This is what PNAC said. This is what the vice president said. This is what Zbigniew Brzezinski said. This is what all the big policy wonks said. This is what the Pentagon said going back to the 70s in hundreds of white papers. We need giant attacks on the homeland to be able to. And
I think this is where you and I agree. I think we agree that, first of all, an attack like that is now being used by people in power to get more power, and that's obvious. Again, anyone who doesn't understand that, just look into it. It's obvious. But like I say, I've never been quite clear on what you do about it. You know, if you spot, like you say, who benefits, okay, those people over there benefit. So what do we do? I mean, let me contextualize this. For people who don't know who I'm talking to, this guy Alex Jones. Last time I saw him, I think it was on YouTube, and you were in the middle of some crowd at some sort of conference. I don't know what it was. It was only recently, and you're in the middle of, like, people are hitting you and stuff, and they're going, "Hey, buddy, who are you?" And you're going, "I'm Alex Jones. I'm here to fight the New World Order." And you're right in the middle of this melee, and I'm thinking, "Oh God, I hope nothing happens to him." I mean, seriously, I was worried for you. I mean, what I'm saying is, once you think to yourself, right, okay, so who did it? What do you do about it? Because what you do about it, you wander around with a bullhorn, interrupting major media. Listen, switch on the television, news, TV. This is the guy who's in the background going, 911 was an inside job, and like that with his bullhorn. But is that what you do? What do you do once you've made your mind up about something like this?
Well, let me answer that question, but first let me just say this. In my new film, Truth Rising, free on YouTube. Free, Truth Rising, Google it. Free, costs $80,000 to make. All about the 9/11 truth movement, cops trying to plant bombs on us, saying we're terrorists. Just stuff you can't believe. Michael Moore saying firefighters and police told him there were bombs in the buildings. We interviewed him. George Collin right before he died. Martin Sheen, Jesse Ventura, Willie Nelson. You know, my point in bringing that up is you're asking, you know, what do I do? Why am I doing this? In the film, we go up to Gary Hart, top globalist. He called for the New World Order. He called for using terrorism as a pretext for control. Former Senator Gary Hart, top CFR planner. And he wrote a letter to Ahmadinejad that was published in newspapers in the U.S. saying the United States has staged terror attacks before. Don't think because 80% of Americans don't want war with you that our government won't stage something. And so we went and interviewed Gary Hart, and he says, yes, I'm saying our government may stage a Gulf of Tonkin event. Now, what I didn't know is right at the time he was saying that, the White House had proposed to the military having Navy SEALs attack U.S. ships dressed up like Iranians. So Gary Hart is now saying this. The point is, this has reached critical mass. And so...
Yeah, it has, and that's what I'm asking. What happens next? Because, I mean, I've seen Truth Rising. I know what you're talking about, and I've received emails from people who, because I refused to say that I think 911 was an inside job, some people really hate me for that. And what I'm asking you is, now this movement's growing, and now I've watched you over the years, and getting more and more followers. Now it's getting to the point where it's critical mass. So what do we do? What's the consequence?
Let me be clear, but I don't have followers. I may be the guy that 2 months before the attack said they were coming down, and because I saw the signs and the preparation and the media and the conditioning. And I may be the guy that went on the air the day of the event and lost half my affiliates, about 30 of them, saying it was an inside job. And I may be the guy that gets death threatened for saying it. And it's because I've been death threatened, and because I've gone through all this, and because I know if we don't expose government terror, they're going to continue to stage it like Hitler did, like Julius Caesar did. This is their favorite tool. The Soviets did it. The British government's been caught. I mean, this is what governments do over and over again. If I don't expose this, they're going to continue to use this as a pretext to set up a domestic police state. So, yes, I went and took over national TV 3 separate times and got beat up doing it. And, yes, I'm not going to stop. And, yes, I did that to encourage other Americans. And since I did that 2 weeks ago, and I've done it before, there have been at least 10 other national TV shows taken over, local TV shows taken over. I did that to show people what to do. I did that as an example. I did that to encourage others, because they can kill me, they can imprison me, but the idea is out there. As they say for V for Vendetta, ideas are bulletproof. They can kill me. I am merely flesh and blood. But they can't kill the ideas, because ideas are invincible. They cannot be stopped. It was Victor Hugo that said, who opposed the tyrant Napoleon, that no army can stop an idea whose time has come. Okay? People have found out that there are thousands of cases of government staging terror, over 200 of the U.S. doing it, They found out the Tsars did it, the Soviets, the Nazis. They're finding out it's the favorite tool, and there's nothing they can do. It's over. And the people now know. They have polls in the U.S. where the majority believe the government's lying, and a majority of that group believe that it's a total inside job. So just like 92% know they killed Kennedy.
But this is what like I say, I just fear for you, man, and I fear for you being...
Hannah, can you hear me? Wherever you are.
Hannah.
Look up, Hannah. The clouds are lifting. The sun is breaking through. We are coming out of the darkness into the light. We are coming into a new world.
Wow, here comes another medium hit.
Where men will rise above their hate, their greed, and brutality. Look up, Hannah. The soul of man has been given wings, and at last he is beginning to fly. He is flying into the rainbow, into the light of hope, into the future, the glorious future that belongs to you, to me, and to all of us. Look up, Hannah. Look up.
All right then, welcome along to the cult. All right then, welcome along to the cult of Nick. So, what are we doing today? Well, we've got a few interviews from the archive which kind of introduce themselves. The details of them are posted on the post you'll find that accompanies this podcast on my main blog, thecultofnick.co.uk. Should take you there. If not, www.majerisons.blogspot.com. It's hosted under the Google Blogger site. And I tell you what, I every day fantasize about moving it across to WordPress. I don't know if there are any fellow bloggers who listen to The Cult of Nick, but in the event there are, and listening figures are quite high at the moment, we're almost going to touch the 1,000 per episode mark soon, I think, which is nice, given that the majority of this material has appeared, certainly been broadcast before. A lot of it doesn't appear online, actually. That's kind of why I started doing it. But anyway, the point is that we're starting to touch reasonably high numbers. So if it is the case that I'm talking to fellow bloggers, because I don't obviously know personally all of the people that listen to this podcast, and I don't like this Google Plus business. I'm not keen. I don't want to be part of another social network. Facebook itself is enough of a problem. Have you ever had it where someone goes to you, oh yeah, did you see my update on Facebook? Like they assume that you've looked at all their updates on Facebook. Like you're going to sit there going through everybody's updates and checking where... I don't have time to know what's going on in my own life, let alone everyone else. Anyway, that's the main site for the blog. If you go on there, www.majerisons.blogspot.com, you'll find details of the interviews that I've done, and we've squeezed in a couple of tracks from listeners to the podcast who are talented musicians. And I tell you what, I've really enjoyed hearing the work of listeners to the podcast who are musically talented. If you're one of those talented musical listeners, one of them is called, I think, Mike Radio. He's the one who did the Charlie Chaplin speech cut up. That's taken from, I think it's called The Great Dictator, and it's a Charlie Chaplin film, and it's the first moment when I think Charlie Chaplin ever spoke on camera. The film itself was not a big hit. It's not a great film, but that speech itself sticks out a mile as a moment of genius. I might not agree with every single aspect of it. I think he leans towards the kind of communist ethic there, and I don't know if I've ever explained this to you, but you're not listening to a podcast that's done by a rationalist, right? I advocate irrationalism just as much as I do rationalism. Yeah, that's right.
He's not lying.
And I think communism, capitalism, they're outgrowths of rationalism. And I think rationalism's dangerous because it reduces people to machines, which is what Charlie Chaplin's ranting about there. Anyway, Mike Radio, you can find him on Twitter. He sent us that one, and it's The Valley, I think, who is that's the name of the musical act that put that up there. Also, I've had it sent through to me by Tommy Greaves, is his name, and he's also included his band in the podcast there. The track in question is called Wake Me Up, and I think they're a Birmingham-based band, and I think maybe one or two of them have listened to the podcast on occasion and Tommy seems to be a regular contributor to it. Wide Eyed is the name of the band, and the track's called Wake Me Up. It's the one that featured vocals and singing, where you can hear the words, unlike everyone's favourite Zero Friends Recordings. We had him on the podcast not so long ago. He spoke to the fact that you can't hear his lyrics. That is deliberate. I mean, he is a friend of mine, Zero Friends Recordings, but don't tell him, but I think he's a very talented musician. But I never let the mask drop when I'm with him. In fact, actually, when I interviewed him, it's not the last podcast, it's the podcast before. I let the mask drop there just to make it clear to him. I think that's the first time I've ever praised his music to his face. Good old Zero Friends Recordings, you'll find links to him as well. If you click through to majerrisons.blogspot.com. Let's crack on, shall we, and do this.
This is the Cult of Nick.
There are some pretty good tracks in this podcast from time to time. So we count for all the lines here. Passing behind the lines there. So they like cutting across one and hitting the other one in the corner, yeah. Around to the second set across the street. Center line. All the way to the band. There he is.
Well, that's not what we want. I'm not going to be a leader of anything physical, and I'm not a leader of people. I'm someone as an emergency beacon, like a lighthouse, or like a buoy where there's a rock in a channel, and I'm just flashing. I'm flashing because, I mean, you learn about this. Listen, I was aware of this because it was in the New York Times, and it was in CBS TV. That the FBI cooked the bomb, trained the driver, gave him the detonators, and then ordered the FBI agents who didn't want it to happen to let the crazy Muslims, and I'm using their quotes, and they were crazy, those guys were, not Muslims in general, but that subgroup, to go bomb the World Trade Center in 1993. Now, that was provocateur. But, you see, then the Feds said, well, they didn't do a good enough job. They didn't park it up against the main column like they were supposed to, so it only killed 9 people. Next time, we'll just do it right ourselves. And so I was in radio, television, and film in 1993, and I was reading the news articles, and I was like, my God, it's right here in the newspaper that the government basically provocateured this. And so I started studying government-sponsored terrorism, and then I watched the Feds bomb Oklahoma City, and, I mean, they were caught doing it. I mean, the local police said that the government had done it, and then they murdered local cops. They were killing police. I mean, this was... And then they came and threatened the grand jury foreman. They threatened to kill him if he didn't shut up, and they threatened to go after local media was reporting. They removed bombs. The Feds were caught by local police. I mean, so all I've ever talked about is government-sponsored terror because they've been caught over and over again.
Scary stuff. Listen, it's Kerrang! Radio. It's the night before. We're with Alex Jones. Right, listen, I'm going to do the UFO stuff with you now, and that should go down well on September the 11th. Right?
Well, I just hope people will visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. I mean, please put this in your cast.
Let me tell you, we will leave the film plugs in there, particularly Truth Rising. It's your best one to date, I think. Right, let me dive into the next part anyway. It's Kerrang! Radio. It's the night before. We got Alex Jones with us. Now, listen, Alex Jones is a writer, a broadcaster, and a filmmaker. And he's kind of like, in America, he's sort of the king of the conspiracy theorists, really. That's who he is. Listen, Alex, thanks for joining us on the show. The reason I've got you on is because there's something I want to talk to you about that I've never really heard you talk about in any amount of detail. And it's something that I kind of feel like I should probably chuck over to you to look into, because it's not... I'm no expert on any of these things. Right?
Look at this. Ooh.
Well, I mean, I think you certainly are, versed on a lot of history. I don't claim to be particularly smart myself. I just study history, and I go off of what's declassified and what's been developed. Right.
Let me ask you about UFOs. Do you believe in aliens?
I don't cover that because I'm already called a conspiracy theorist when I read declassified government documents and the mainstream newspapers admitting they've built FEMA camps, concentration camps, for the American people. I mean, George Bush signed PDD 51. Congress comes out and says he's made himself a dictator. They're not allowed to see it. That's not how our government works. He's made himself a king. And people can't believe that when it's admitted. Look, we're a tiny planet, third rock out from the sun, on 2/3 of the way out on the spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy. The Hubble Space Telescope has photographed hundreds of billions of galaxies with hundreds of millions and billions of stars per galaxy. I have no doubt that in the deep reaches of space and in even other dimensions that the mathematicians have proven exist, that there are all sorts of things in the unknown and that we don't know 1/1 of what's happening in the world around us and the universe around us. I just don't really get into UFOs on my radio show or on Infowars.com or my websites like PrisonPlanet.com because it's something you can't prove one way or the other. It's fascinating. It's an enigma. It's a riddle. It's a whole industry. What mainstream media does, going back 20, 30 years with TV specials, is they sandwich in secret government operations, shadow government, and Yetis, and Bigfoot, and Chupacabras, and alien grays. They mix it all together. So what I've always done is I'm a place where if I talk about something, it's got real evidence, that real stuff you can sink your teeth into. Now, privately, I have made a in-depth study of the UFO phenomenon, of the extraterrestrial phenomenon, of crop circles, of of cattle mutilations, livestock mutilations, humans being kidnapped. Is it real? I don't know. Most of it's hoaxes. Most of it's attention getting. Most of it's people writing books. Most of it's people, telling a nice yarn. Like Fire in the Sky, they admit that's not true. Made into a movie, but it's a great movie. And it's certainly spooky driving down the road at night listening to somebody like George Norrie or Art Bell talk about it.
Well, here's why I want to mention it to you, right? Because there's a guy we've been interviewing on this show here on Kerrang called Gary McKinnon, and he's due to be extradited to America. And I'm worried that it might be something that won't get coverage.
And he claims that he hacked into government computers and it was all about aliens and spacecraft and stuff.
Yeah, and the reason I'm concerned is because having met and interviewed him many times, I was reading coverage of it in America, New York Times and some of the other papers. They're painting him as a conspiracy buff, which is not what he is. He's someone who's into UFO stuff. I think he's aware of your work, and I think he's mentioned the 911 inside job stuff. But I don't think that he's not like a 911.
I want to get him on. Do you have his number?
Yeah, we can. The thing is, he's not at the moment. He's not giving interviews because he's going to be extradited, and the guy's terrified. The reason I mention it to you is because I want to get you on record saying you will cover it, and you will. Because we can't. It's out of my control now. I've covered it as much as I can. I went and saw his court hearings.
Well, why isn't he doing interviews? Give him my number. I want to get him on.
Because the guy's he's in a bit of an emotional state.
Yeah, but if he does that, they're going to win. He needs to be out pointing out. I know his case well. That he hasn't. That he's being unfairly singled out. That most hackers get hired by the government or get a slap on the wrist. That he didn't damage anything, he's facing a lot of years in prison, and I think it's selective enforcement, and it's wrong, and it is suspicious that they want to put him away. But let me just give you...
If the New World Order exists, Alex, which I don't know, and I don't know what I know, but...
Gordon Brown's calling for it every week.
Yeah, but if it exists, if these people...
It doesn't exist, your prime minister's...
Yeah, he's calling for it to exist, but let me say, if this shadowy government.
Well, hold on, that's a good point. It hasn't fully taken over. The shadow government wants to metastasize and eat the whole body politic. We still have a lot of freedom. We still have a lot of our society left, but to deny that there are people wanting to set up a one world government. And to deny that all these presidents and prime ministers and the UN are calling for global governance.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm saying that, but what I am saying...
Well, just Google Gordon Brown. He's given like 50 speeches.
I know. I read an article that he wrote in The Independent about the New World Order. But let me say to you, if this shadow government exists, they want Gary McKinnon in America. And that's why I'm sort of handing the gauntlet over to you. I'm trying to do that on air. I want you to keep track of what happens with him because I'm genuinely concerned. Let me tell you, you're on the show where the sixth man on the moon, Edgar Mitchell, he came on the airwaves with us. He had a chat and he told us that aliens exist and they're in regular contact with this planet and the government are keeping it quiet. And let me tell you, I was on the Alex Jones hotline going, what's just happened? Because, I don't know how much of this stuff I believe, but if the UFO...
Okay, here's the deal. And I know you got international attention from that. And so kudos to you. Cheers, as you say, across the pond. But let me just give you my bottom line on UFOs. You want it? I know you've got the former astronaut. He's not the only one saying they saw craft, they saw UFOs. There's official NASA videos that show things flying around at Mach 500.
White boner. Welcome. What are you seeking to do? Just recreate a whole car crash? No, White boner. There's a larger questions at hand. One thing I was seeking to do is to see whether or not there was more than one take, or did it all happen in the same moment of time? And it appears all the footage I've considered so far fits with the same moments of time theory, not more than one take. The second, some of the time the camera angles that the people are using guarantees they're going to capture one another, and the space that they're all within at certain moments in time is incredible. I'm not looking to create the whole crash scene. I'm looking at 16 minutes, 8 minutes before, and maybe 8 minutes after. So when specific people with cameras get close to one another, they act differently. for example, when Faith gets close to what I affectionately call GK, the grassy knoll footage, when that occurs, he behaves differently. Or is it just a coincidence or not? That's the funny thing about it. How does Faith end up next to Rebel Z? There's another question. And they're standing shoulder to shoulder. They're really close to one another at the moment of the crash. That just so happens to be ancillary to the larger question, how does the physics of it work? But allow me to demonstrate. I could use Faith or Ford, because he's got a shit ton of locations back in time from where the crash occurs. The missing 79 seconds warp drawing reminds us of. We can fill in some of those moments in time too, but based on where it could have been. And it's currently waiting here because that's the last information we have for it. How about I go to it and go back in time? And back, 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 and back. Each of the different pieces of film allows me to really accurately position very specific things. GK, the guy I just mentioned, puts the maroon minivan on this intersection, wheels on the crosswalk, and over the stop line. So she can see past the building without getting out of the vehicle, but she's got it in parked too. And then everything else happens. So this is the moment that I think he's got plenty of time to get to, which is at the top of the run. The Camry is pulling into position behind her. The Tundra must already be there. That's the space on the way down the hill. The parking spaces, no parking space. Another one over here. And then maybe no parking for bikes or something. Or there's little bollards over on this side. Anyhow. So I've got a drop-down, top-down map for the location of every vehicle which is moving, which I care to track, is the question, White Boner. And the map is based on town data right now. So I've got contours on there as well. Can't see the black Tundra unless we get really close. And I've been putting in a few road marks at the epicenter, so to speak. So it's not to recreate anything in the whole crash, it's to actually get the whole situation leading into the crash as it occurred for all these camera people to have recorded at once. And I've got more footage yet to add in, like more of these trackers for the top-down thing. Some of these aren't there until after crash. Some of these are waiting to happen because this is Rebel Z, this is Faith Goldie. Ford Fisher over here. That's the manhole cover. So we're seeing this camera as the big picture. And the smaller one inset is Faith Goldie. Is this too much information or should I keep going? I can also add in Rebel Z's camera over here. I can put that explicitly, make sure that that's being displayed. That's underneath. I could offset Rebel. Put him over to the right there. Cool. Blender's the best. Blender allows me to do the layout for the strips all at one time. It doesn't really matter what scene I attach it to. But right now this scene has got this 3D data for a top-down map layer. My plan is to render the top-down map layer with a timeline which has got all the marks laid out for multiple strips and then some kind of a unique identifier, but it'll be a specific moment in time against a specific audio track. One that covers the length of it. And that's Ford Fisher. Blender's awesome, man. Anyhow, the animation follows. Simply that I've backtracked where the people are in space against the blender unit, 1 meter to one blender unit. And that allows me to see all kinds of things that I otherwise wouldn't, like why people react a certain way when other things get close to them. Because this guy's been standing still for 2 minutes, and all of a sudden when she comes close with a camera, she's not really close, I mean 10, 15 meters, but even so. That's the Camry pulling position. Rebel's over on the corner. He's moving. Doesn't like that camera. She's not wearing something that says press either. She's got a pink gas mask. When they flip their camera, I flip the angle of the lens. So it's facing on her face right now, and then there's an empty controlling them. Wait, I'll get the empty. So I've got the empty named as a controller, and it's a constraint rather than a parent. So it both the bubble and the lens are constrained to the location and rotation. Yeah, cool, eh? I'm explaining it for the people that don't. That guy's over there now. So how could it be that he gets to the corner of the building? How does she like lose it? Or how does she manage to get in there? It's because her camera's pointed backward with a microphone pointed that way. And his is pointed forward with a microphone pointed that way. It's closer to his body than that. That's his overall field of view. Maybe a little wider. White Boner, I'm going to ask you, how could it be that Faith and Rebel could get so damn close to one another, have no indication on either of their live streams, and still both manage to get the scoop, so to speak? I'm going to tell you, it's orchestrated. Watch. The moment she passes him, the moment there's even a slim chance he'll be within the range of her inside camera, she flips it. So we have no indication until after the accident where Rebel is. They're standing side by side. He blocked her from view on this corner to get into this angle, is my contention. But that's not the only thing that happened. They're echoing each other's words. You can hear it on the audio. You can see it. You can hear one person say a word and the other one pick it up right beside them. Can't help it. It's like a signal. Go code. So what else was orchestrated? The other guy, GK. This guy. I want to beg your attention to him now. He sees everything. He sees everything before it begins. He sees everything from the moment he walks down here. He's got a fisheye. It's part of the reason he sees everything. This guy got a drone. Pff, nothing compared to the fisheye. Gets to the bottom of the road, notes that the car is not only down here, but also will note that it's parked. So she's waiting. Actually sees the moment she parks. Oh, I just picked the wrong one, didn't I? Which one did I have? Maybe that was $2.99. Reb Z. So when he gets turned around, goes past here, she's parking right here. There it is. He sees that. He sees a truck over there going through the intersection, pulling a Yui. Well, not a real Yui. Go forward through time, and he gets up here to catch the arrival of the parade. Sorry, counter-protesters, who Faith is embedded with, and rebels catching on the other side there. But when she gets near him, is when he starts getting antsy. So I don't know if they're in out with each other or not, but when she starts going, he starts going. And he'll go all the way up here and all the way back. And they'll still end up within a few feet of one another by the time the horns are blowing up here. Trying to get audio of the car horn. Yeah, I do. White boner, there is. Yeah, there is. It's in Commander Cody. It's not much, but I think it's there. It isn't leaned on, and it sounds though like it's pretty much got to be the Challenger. Commander Cody. There are other more plausible for why they're talking to one another. Why you don't think that she would have needed at least a little bit of screening or cover to try to get in there, and then they could pretend they didn't know one another while they were standing within earshot for... It was possible there's enough bodies between them they never even saw each other. True. But those Jeremiah Nutt pictures are pretty friggin'... There doesn't seem to be anybody crouching down between them. Some of it isn't theater. Some of it was there was foreknowledge of where to be and when, what to look for. And if you watch Faith, there's enough time for her to have signaled understood before that vehicle started moving. So let's just watch up the hill in the moments before the attack. Because I'm thinking this is about the time that he starts. I'm thinking this is the maximum time he's got to have started. If we follow his velocity through the curve that he would have gotten at the bottom of that part due to Gilmore. So I'll play forward and we'll watch Faith. That's about inclusion, guys. It's about inclusion. Just got to start going. Here we go. So she's got a number of seconds to get to that corner. And that's why it's important. How could he have let her know down the hill? All he needs to do is flash his lights once, my friend. And that's not theater. That's a prearranged signal. All he had to do was flash his lights. All she has to do is send a text back saying, understood, go. And he breaks until after here. And she had time to send the text to tell him to keep going. Point and overturn, keep going. She's in on it. That's what I think. If he's not here before she sends a message back, he's going to stop. His average speed slows down because if he continued, he'd have hit there way earlier. Something stopped him other than that crowd. Gilmore's footage has the best car horn. I've never heard it. It's not on his... Is it on his Twitter one, or do you know of other footage? It's not on stuff on his Twitter. I think it's pretty obvious that the timing was a little too convenient for her to get the shots that she got. Not only that, she had time to signal, I am safe and in position, with a prearranged whatever. And they don't need to send her any signal over an electronic network for that to be true. So if her boss or her company phone plan recognized it, then fair enough. They also had proof probably. A stabilized Gilmore. I'm not going there now. I'm working, White Boner. I'm working. Thank you very much. You're going to have to look hard in Commander Cody on your own time. I didn't hear it on Gilmore ever, and Gilmore's Twitter video didn't have no horn on it. Maybe the cops wiped it off in the 3 hours or 4 hours between. I don't know. But yeah, just look at that. She can't really get past them there in any other way without having that face cam on, without letting it be known how close she is to this other dude. And she just passed by the guy with the big camera. No, how do we know who's driving? We don't even know who's driving, really. All we know who should be driving based on a car which fits description and tags which fit description. But I agree, it could, if it's who it's supposed to be, then, or I mean, based on the tags and the car make and type and stuff, well, color, I mean, then perhaps James did it, yeah, perhaps. But it didn't have to be. It didn't have to be because he and her specifically. It could be because they both know somebody in common who helped arrange it. Like I wouldn't pin it on two individuals. Although obviously it involves at least two individuals. But if it involves at least two, why shouldn't it at least involve a third, considering the amount of coordination that there is between some of these people? They all knew where the epicenter was. Everybody knew where the epicenter was. There was no barricade at the top of this road where there was supposed to be one. How come? Because somebody like maybe GK down here or whoever, they wanted to try something else. Let's try what the emergency plan calls for. Maybe that's the reason why he's on Team Yellow. Said she had a heart attack. Yeah, probably. You could have been scared to death in such a situation. Why do you make such a direct claim, man? You got to go straight to these direct, like, I'm not saying anything like that. All I'm doing is putting together these pieces of footage and showing that there's these apparent coordinations. And I'm not making it up. My angles will be shown to be true in these little markers. My angles can be checked and edited if they want to at some later point. When I put out whatever I put it out. But I'm putting it out working in front of everybody. No secrets here. So I don't need to be slowed down too much. Maybe I should put on the Cult of Nick again and let that warble away. She had a heart attack. She might well have warp drive. I think she had a good one. Several filmers that are there, but not by accident. Isn't it funny that not only does Rebel have one camera streaming, but that second camera that he doesn't have to worry about the content. He doesn't have to cover up the second one. He just films good with the second one because that's the high quality. Rebel is definitely screening her. From the city. The city has it. Charlottesville has it. Go back a few episodes, you'll find it in one of the descriptions. Charlottesville GIS data, I think it is. GIS data viewer, maybe? But that's not the only set of data I used. I used OpenStreetMap too, and check the apparent sizes against various other maps. So simple. You get all the contour lines that way too. If you want to do it in 3D. Oh, White Boner thinks they're getting such a coup here, but the funny thing is, White Boner, if you wait a little while, you get a blend file too. You just gotta wait till I'm done. You won't find that on the GIS data. No, sir. That's a cool. Can't wait to get in that stuff. Yeah, the contour lines, they came from GIS. And how old is it? This is over 10 years old, so a lot of these buildings are actually starting to change. This here is not a parking lot. Got it, what is it? They're building something on there now, like a high-rise. Would love them for what? I don't see why anyone needs to be worried about or love them anyway. I would think that that would be the last thing they need. All I know is that Challenger matching descriptions was loitering around the area and more than one person was waiting for it. Or looking for it. I love that part. That part. I did that before. White boner, you don't need blender for that. Gilmore is all you need for that. MPH before braking, MPH or the average speed for the entire trip, and go from his start point, not from Gilmore. Extrapolate back for his start point. But that's the number of seconds, and it's his acceleration from 0. He starts from 0 and he flashes his lights, I guarantee you. He flashed them once, or Faith wouldn't have known. Yep. I didn't do it inside of any vid. I did it in a comment, back of the envelope, but then if you look at the over-under, I use Gilmore only. Gilmore says he's doing 33 miles per hour when he crosses the crossover. Yes, they are. His brake lights are clearly visible. Yes, they are. He's doing 33 at the crossover when he clears the crossover, according to Gilmore. And then, for it take as long as it takes for him to get down there, he's doing the average speed is something closer to what? Let me get a calculator. I haven't put that in any video yet because it's not necessary. Comments enough for that. Let's see. Meters to feet. No, I need kilometers and miles. I do all my work in kilometers and convert it that way. Average speed, yeah, 29, not quite 30. That's average. Can only really go down, but the apparent time from the top of the attack to the bottom of the hill at the stop line is something like 8 seconds. So it takes some time to accelerate up, clear the crossover, and then that's Gilmore down, which is something like 7 seconds. Couldn't believe how long it taken to hit in Gilmore. So it's incredible. You gotta go way slow to get down there. Yep. But that's average speed from the time he starts to the time he's finished. That's from way up the hill all the way down. Like past the crossover. He had to start somewhere up past the crossover. So let's say he starts there, right? Average speed 30 miles an hour all the way down. And the first time he crossed the crossover, he was doing something close to that too. Well, how much did I figure it? 10 meters a second or something. No. Yeah, 10 meters a second. So 36 kilometers an hour, or 22. That's his speed. 22 is the speed that he's doing the first time that Ford gets him, yes. The first time he goes over the crossover, 22. But not the second time when he's on the attack run. And yes, he's committed to attacking somehow, although Gilmore shows that he's using his brakes. So something doesn't add up there either. And I would contend that Faith had time to send him a signal saying proceed, which means Fields is necessarily the one in control here. $22 for when he first arrives. He clears the mall X over that fast past number 1. That's the entirety of what math says. There's nothing to hide about that. And there's video evidence for both those numbers. 22 the first time, 33 the second time. Gilmore the second time, Ford Fisher the first time. Don't mix them up. That's the whole reason. Gilmore. Gonna take a quick smoke break. I'm getting some cashola already, some music. Not cashola. Some musicola. Some Ricola. I'm having a break. I need to have a stretch. check. 1, 2, 3. It's called Puff Puff Pass Fernando. Many years it's been since I saw a reefer in your hand. Did you find the bomb, Fernando? That dandy little glass one you got outside of Disneyland. I can see it in your eyes. You wanna try to steal across back to Rio Grande.
No, Tommy Chong made it, man.
He's not here. It was years ago, Fernando, when we met in Tijuana at a swank resort hotel. Maybe it was Acapulco. You worked the bar, Fernando. You were really well connected to the Zetas, I heard tell. And it was tattooed up and down your arms, that wide variety of chemicals you sell. It was something in the E, I think, but not the drink, Fernando. Drinking mezcal from the bottle straight, the word can wait, Fernando. Though we never thought out of grass. Got a dealer who delivers, man. Guy's got a van, Fernando. Got a dealer who delivers fast, as in the past, Fernando. Are you still awake, Fernando? Would you put me in recovery position if I faint? Am I breathing right, Fernando? 'Cause I feel a little queasy from the smorgasbord we ate. And if you think that it's too early for this song, I'm here to tell you it's too late. Than Fernando. Many hours, many minutes seem to last eternity. And the firelight, Fernando, it was fucking pretty trippy once we dropped the LSD. And then the magic mushrooms, ayahuasca, don't forget the peyote. Got into the nitrous first, my guts done burst, Fernando. Then a big old bag of coca leaves for you and me, Fernando. Though we never thought you would run out of grass. The coyotes, they got some in truck, with any luck, Fernando. Inside 10 miles of that Churchill Square, he's got your gear, Fernando. Throws a couple extra papers too in the bag for you, Fernando. If I never use my brain again, I could just go ahead and bleach my hair snow white. Sing, no, 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 no. question. Do you do a banjo track first or do you do a guitar track first?
It's banjo.
Just to find out the hard way.
Whatever you do, you don't fuck it up. Try not to laugh.
It's Banjo as a cover. And where was I with the call to Nick anyway? Hey, where were we? Because I want to hear that one. Pick it up.
We've got things that are 3 football fields long flying around over Dallas.
He gets them to go one way
we've got all sorts of weirdness going on. But I know there are declassified documents where the U.S. government planned to have giant hologram machines in the 60s that project huge flying saucers, blimps really painted up like UFOs. So a kind of world-unifying plot to have a fake alien landing to unify the Earth or shake things up. Now, is that what's going on? Or are the astronauts telling the truth? You know what? I don't know. Suddenly you've got all these governments saying they're real. Yeah. Suddenly the Pope is saying it's real and Jesus loves the little green man.
I like my Fernando too.
Suddenly you've got all these big leaders saying it's real. And I don't know.
That's like an improvement over the original Fernando already.
There's one called Project Blue.
You should hear my walk like an Egyptian.
And let me contextualize as well. Listen, I'm a bloke on the radio. I'm a rock radio presenter. I play
but not
music.
just Bluebeam. And there's other admitted programs. But yes, that's big.
So, but what's interesting is we reported that on the.
I'll be right back. I want to hear this stuff. Pardon me for the dead air there. Squeak, says the door. Oh, hot tea. Good for the morning. It's this time of year again. It's this time of year again. This time of year.
The day the Edgar Mitchell stuff came out, we reported
Clear the road of everyone but Tumblr's horn.
We were talking about something called.
And did you write lyrics? The lyrics I did. I wrote the adjusted lyrics. Of course I did.
What I'm saying
it's a satire.
To you is, it's the only thing I've looked into.
I only used maybe 2 phrases,
weird.
2 or 3 phrases from the original because I like the way that it set up a joke that I'd already helped twist it enough that the original lyrics were like dominoes in a pattern. I could leave where they were and just set up a few more around them. Bang, they all go down. That's the way I looked at it. I have some really good lyrics in there, I think. A glassy stare you get when you take a rip upon it, man. That's the new lyrics I wrote for Fernando. I've actually changed it. The ones that you hear me play it, I've got recordings of it that aren't that one that we just heard a minute ago. And it's live recordings. And they've got different lyrics. Like, for example, yeah. Or then there's the tattooed up and down your arms. That one's a good one. I like the one that there's a smorgasbord involved because ABBA. What other one? Many hours, many moments seem to last eternity. That's from the original. Firelight Fernando was fucking pretty trippy once we dropped the LSD. Because it was. I remember. Fernando, man. Oh, such laughter. I like the Walk Like Egyptians pretty good too for covering. That's a good kind of song to cover. I've heard many good bands cover many good songs. It isn't necessarily the heights of the art, but it is pretty close. Gee, that looks sharp like that, doesn't it? Just a little less bright. It's funny. I have fun playing it. I play it down on the street too sometimes. Just do it live and see what people do or say. I play some covers where I don't change the lyrics, and then I play some covers where the lyrics are totally thrown out and new ones added. I find if I do the satire lyrics, I get away with fair use way easier. Lyrics have always got me in trouble too. I've written lyrics where I've immediately been pulled into the principal's office having performed a song which I wrote in school assemblies and the like. I'm like, yeah, but this song is cool, and they're like, yeah, but those lyrics you added, those aren't cool. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? It's just lyrics, man. And they, you know, I didn't get my fingerprints or nothing. I didn't get stuck in the jail. But, man, that's a pretty tight little chicane down there. Dang. Where were we anyhow? Oh yeah, Faith. Faith Goldie, we were getting right to the end of her run. Because, like, it's so close to this. But just look at this. I've been mapping her for the last 2 days. And adding in little other things to make it even easier to map her. But just look at her move. Like, I can be really, really, really certain about these motions. Look at the two bubbles around GK and Ford. Rebel's already gone up the hill waiting for his interview. And then Faith. Weird Al. Yes, Weird Al was one of those things I listened to. Weird Al's use of an accordion is quite impressive. How many songs where he didn't only use an accordion, but then he went note for note with whatever the song demanded? Oh, it isn't just like a dance. It's like a polka dance. It's like a polka. I'm not a fan of polka, but I'll put up with it if I have to. Right? I did a trip of Europe once upon a time, and when I did, I got to go to a beer hall, and I'm going to tell you, it was wall to wall, floor to floor, polka band. Everywhere you went, polka. Polka this, polka that. I think this demands that by this time, she's more at the corner of the car than that. Where's my next keyframe? Yeah. He was genius. Wait, is he dead? You say he was. Make him sound like he's not a going concern. I think at this moment in time she's actually farther over than that. She must be significantly farther to the... Yeah, because it's pointing down the hill. I noticed that. This car is not pointing in the right direction. There's the stop sign. The red stop sign seems to mystify so many people. Here's one of two yellow ones, which is very near it. Warning of the chicane. She's pointed past, and so therefore I've got to update that rotation as well. Insert loc rot. Has she got time to get that far? Yeah. She's zoomed in on her camera. It makes her look like she's closer to the outside edge of that car, I think, than is true. But I'm going to split the difference here and give her a little more. See, I think this is right. She gets inside the car. She's got a camera zoomed in. That's the reason why she's got a stable shot. Don't think he's dead. because he hasn't done something in a while. Yeah, he did stop doing them, or he stopped doing the rip-off stuff. Can we see inside that silver car at all? Maybe a little. She goes around it, but there isn't much more of her image than what is currently displaying. She points in at the wall when she's inside of it. I haven't got that done yet. I'm trying to get her basic motion mapped. For this to all be true, she has to go between a line, like people, which are indicated in front here. And some of them are way down here on this line before she gets there. Yeah, you know what? This moment in time, she's over here farther and pointing in. Looking over the back corner of the car, like that way. Imagining the center of her image. HH in what? Is HH in the car? Oh, I don't know about that. I'm just now thinking what you mean. Here I get an angle there across the line of the sidewalk, so I know how much she's angled in. I'm going to use just a rotation for that one. Going to put her closer to the wall whenever the next keyframe is. And maybe move her back a bit. Insert rot. She's got to duck in next to the wall there, like so, to get around people. And it's the person I think who was walking last there that's the one she last gets around. She's angled in more than that. She's like this. Insert rot. That's the last one. Yeah, in the silver car. No, I don't think so. That's the best angle you're actually going to get, and even so, we still have a bit of glare coming off the sky behind her, and the sun is still managing to get in the curve of the glass. Too much glare to actually see much. Could get rid of some of it. And then this part. She never tips her camera really low enough. The real giveaway, though, is the which way that her car is pointing is the sunroof. If the tail of the car didn't tip you off, that will. Someone in there cooling down. She's flipping camera again. They're using it as a portable cool tent. Someone's in there. Someone got a bottle of water, right? Back seat or front? Back. Let's have a peek. Have fun with the strip. Don't need to see that much. Only need to see this much. This is Faith Goldie. No, that's Rebel Z. Here's Faith. Here's where we are. I'll make it a little tighter. Not using any modifiers on our image right now, but we can try to get rid of some of the glare using the curves. Brightness and contrast, hue correct. The curves would be the best one, I think, to get rid of glare. We can go after the blues first. That ain't gonna help. Try a composite of the curve. Nope. White balancing's not gonna help much. Hue correct won't either. Color balance I like. Yeah, I know. I don't know if it's a dummy or not. I've heard people say fat suit. I've heard people say crash dummy or whatever, but I don't think that fits. Where's the moment of replacement? That's what I don't see. Don't you have to replace one thing with another somehow, or have it in there before it happens? Which is the whole point of having someone down here in a car waiting, you know what I mean? Here's what I was thinking, like we can go after these kind of tones first. But the shadow is a bad thing to go after, because we want to see inside the car. And what about that one? Yeah, that's no good. And this is like overall. I can get back some of it there. But I don't want blue. And then I can turn it up or down right here. More or less. Let's just go forward in time a few frames. I don't think anything is going to be too visible. Her camera's got a really, it's the smallest image of all of any of the cameras. These aren't going to help. I'll try the opposite direction now because we're looking from a different sun angle. Is there anything visible in here, and is it likely that whoever's in there is lying down? Yes. Yeah, I don't know if there's much more there. It is a little bit easier maybe to see. And our camera got to readjust. Anyway, where was the last one? There. So hover, move. She ain't gonna move far though. She's only gonna take maybe half a step this way. And update her rotation. I need to see my color bar again. Oh, that key. Flipping her leg bends backwards. It wasn't Heather that was flipped over the car either. That wasn't her. Way I understand it, she must be over on the sidewalk there next to where Marcus ends up in the... by the door, you'd think. She can't be much farther than that. If she made it that far before dropping with a heart attack, I'd be surprised. And there's the truth. She's pointing up the street, past this building, and in here. I gotta get in here to get that angle. Trying to track ahead of it. Must be right about there, right? Yeah, and then bring it over. Like to about there. Cert lot wrote. Shocking. Here I am using the wrong key press. Happens all the time. Very gradual as she moves over. But not before, like, that moment or something, yeah? There's a moment where she holds, and that's pretty much there. That's on the inside corner here, so I can, again, find that easily. Warp Drive, with a name like Warp Drive, you must be also a bit of a star. They did flip her? No, when she's on the street with medics. Oh. They flip her. Oh, they flip her over. Right. Yes, they do. They do. You're right. I know what you mean. I know what you mean now. I get you. She takes two steps, maybe three. I don't know how many she takes there. One hesitant step and flips the camera. But she's pointing again at the friggin' joined part of the Gilmore. The angle I got there is going to be wrong. I'm going to update it. Still seeing the car there, so that's correct. From her side to back, yeah, one man bends the knee is not possible. Well, it might be if it was broken. That's another reason why they would need to physically move her. She can't move on her own power, or if she's knocked out or unconscious, be one thing. But if her knee or legs had been broken, see, this is the thing about getting your weight up over the car. Because if you can't get your center of gravity high enough, the car won't sweep your legs out from underneath you, and instead it will break both your legs and try to run you down. And that's the problem. Not everybody could get their center of gravity above the car. That would be a contention I would make. Not everybody could get their center of gravity above the car in time, thus certain wounds. And if you're telling me there's video evidence of a broken leg, then that's a person who couldn't get their center of gravity higher than the car. Yeah, you want to try it? You want to try to stand and stopping a car with your own body and see what happens? If you don't get over it, if you don't get your center of gravity high enough, the car won't sweep you off your feet. It'll break both your legs. You might still fall on the car that way. If you were a moose, I gave the moose analogy early on in this experiment. This set of videos. If you're a moose and your legs are very, very thin, you actually have, like, a car would be better off going faster just to get underneath in time. Because if you're going too slow, the moose is going to land right on your hood and then right into your windscreen. Mom says she wasn't hit by a car. Well, she could have been hit by people and not a car, and still had her legs and stuff broken. Or unhinged. If she's no wounds at all from the car, that'd be interesting. Or if she had none, I should say. I gave her the one cautious step. I gave her her angle. Let me check it again. Right off the angle there now. Should be close to there. I'll bring it back a tiny bit. Allow for the fact that sometimes the tool gets a little bit crazy and no, depending on if there's people or not, in between her or not, and if her center of gravity doesn't get high enough to ever get her on the hood, then she's going with the car. The car is breaking her legs or hips or knees or joints, whatever, either the bones or the joints, and pushing her. She'll fall forward. Look at the lady on her minivan. The lady on her minivan fell forward on her hood and got pushed, right? She didn't even hop up any. But that's like the only thing she could have done. And then she kind of grabs on and pulls herself over. Not pulls herself, but keeps purchase with it. It's wild. If you're going, what I'm saying with the hood thing, if the car is going fast enough, the legs of the moose get swept out underneath, and the moose is not hanging in the air, but, well, it is. It doesn't accelerate due to gravity fast enough to fall on the car. Whereas, if the car is going too slow, gravity takes it down into the car before it can get underneath, and you're in trouble. The human being isn't like a moose. It isn't on the same kind of long legs. So unless the human being jumps up some, it doesn't ever get onto the car. It gets pushed by the car or out of the way by the car or run over by the car. It gets caught up with. From the back of the Tundra, possible. All along the length of the side of it. If you don't get caught in between. I've said too, it's amazing there's not a bloody smear alongside the Tundra. How anyone could have avoided getting caught between them is amazing. So all the missing shoes don't really bother me anymore because anyone didn't lose a foot probably had a shoe caught between a car and a truck. Or pulled under. Yeah, exactly. With broken legs first and then pulled under. Because the broken legs are bending the wrong way. Like, ugh, it's gross, man. Particularly gruesome. I don't want to model any of that. I'm going to be honest. She takes her time starting to move forward again, but okay, she turns in by the time our camera's getting ready to switch. I think she's pointing down by there. Cert wrote, pulled under and run over. Exactly. It is this creepy shit, man. It's creepy, and at the same time, I think some of it isn't too difficult to like deal with. At least in this case, there was. Imagine if there had been no vehicles there, and he'd just simply gone straight through them. There would have been way more killed, way more wounded. Which is why, if this is a setup deal, that's part of the setup. Is we're going to limit any kind of there seems to be some kind of limiting to the amount of people could have possibly been wounded. If you wanted to hurt more, you could have targeted the crowd at the back of the van, the Tundra, I mean, which he had to drive by to hit that one. If his aim was to hit the ones at the bottom who were blocking it, or to hit them, everything was in his way. It would have been deadly if there had been no vehicle there at all. True, it still wasn't exactly not deadly. Yeah, the horn. I think it's on Cody. I say Cody got evidence of a horn. I'll agree with that one. It's an interesting thing to notice. So warp drive Trekkie, yes or no? Or is that just a convenient designation? For more peeps. She's going to change her camera. I got to estimate if she's been moving during the camera change. And she has been. I think she's getting up to about there by the time that change of camera occurs. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Wow. Just short of 3 seconds we lost to that camera change. She can move 4 meters in 3 seconds. Because this is Faith we're talking about. Faith Goldie can move twice as fast as anybody else on that field. If she wants to. Because Faith, she's just like that. That's 10 meters. And I'm saying 4. No joke. Faith is nothing if not consistent in her distance and time. Loke wrote, now watch. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Go back 1, go back 1, go back 1. Hit the Lote road again. Go forward 1. Going to keyframe both those with the I key. Go forward another frame with the arrow key. This one goes +4. And I keyframe with the I key. And then it gets +180 to show that she's using her face cam again. And keyframed. And in the next frame, she's on face cam. So once more, we'll go. Ooh. I got to get the right one there. That nearly turned back. I was like, what the hell? It's been that long since she used face cam. So here's the move. Does that seem too much? I don't know. She's not moving that fast because she's pausing, but she's moving fast beforehand. Just watch Faith, man. She can cover distance like nobody. She's zooming in her camera too, so she hides a lot of her camera moves. She's not intentionally doing it, but the camera's doing it for her. That's too far, eh? Can't be that far. That far. She must get level to those two girls, I would think. She has to get at least this far. And here's why I like Blender. I've been taking my time laying down these keyframes one at a time. The last one I took is this one. That one and this one. They're on either side of the camera flip. So both of them are going to be the same. Whatever the value is, or maybe a little bit different. That one and that one. I'll just skip back with the up and down arrow key so that before and after move is there. And whenever I set the after move for one, it'll set the after move for the second one. So I'm going to zoom in like this, holding middle mouse button with control. Now grab Y and hold shift. And I can reposition back as far as I think that would be more appropriate. And then try that again. Maybe still too far. Maybe still too far. Grab Y. So G for grab and then Y to limit it to the Y axis up and down. X would be changing the point in time when things happen. I don't want to do that. I only want to change how far she gets in a northerly direction. And she'll probably continue walking at around that same rate to the next mark. Here's the trickier ones when she's working from behind. And when she stops, I have to kind of pick my moment to keyframe. She's making her way right along the brick. Okay, now she's clear of the car. I thought she got way farther than that, right? So, wow, just maybe she didn't get very far at all. Maybe she'll, yeah. Maybe that's still too far. Yeah, plus the late that we're on warp drive and planet Earth. We're on warp drive, you mean already? We're kind of at warp speed as it is? There was only one moment I liked in the new Star Trek movies, and it was in the first one of the reboots. And it was when Scotty is talking to Spock Prime, or Spock Original. Like, why do they call him Prime when it's not? Why isn't young Spock Spock? Anyway, young Spock Prime. Beside the point. When the new trilogy began, the one thing which impressed me was Scotty learning the warp formula, which would eventually be given. He was going to be given credit for, according to Spock. And he was like, never considered that space is the thing that was moving. Like, in order for doing transport during, like, warp field interactions and shit. How do you get the coordinates when everything is moving? Think of space as the thing that's moving, you're stand still. Okay. That was kind of nice. But those are far and few between in terms of moments in the new ones. You don't often get those kind of moments in the new ones. Faith looks like she's going through a zombie map or something. She's like, I think it's safe to go over here. Looting hasn't continued. I can't find a Tim Hortons anywhere, eh? Stuff like that. That's what she's saying. You can hear it. You like Generations the best? Oh my God. Generations. I remember when that happened. I remember when that went to the theater. I went to the theater with a whole bunch of people who were Star Trek fans, but we were Trekkies. And we got into a lineup to go and see Generations with a whole bunch of really, really snotty Trek-ers. So when we identified, or when one of our members identified as a Trekkie, the Trekker goes, huh, it's not Trekkie, it's Trekker. Calling a person a Trekkie is like calling a black person a nigger, is what she said. Or a guy said. Exactly what she said. And we all laughed hard at that one. Like, really? Is that what you think? Wow. Strange people and their children. So she's pointed back toward the car a little unintentionally. Yeah, maybe forward of the corner of the. Yeah, that's about right. Yep. I don't care if it's Trekkie or Trekker. I'm more of a Trekkie. If that's the case, like if the difference between the two is one is a SJW and one isn't, then I'm the one that isn't anymore. All I want is my prime directive and a spaceship. Looks like she takes maybe one step towards the line, like away from the brick wall there. Did I get that move right? Yeah, I am. She does. She takes one step and kind of reframes herself. Now it's back down the hill. Man, oh man. You would never wear a Star Trek costume? Oh, I'd go for the uniform probably. But I'd be really picky about which one. I'd be like, oh, Star Trek 2 Wrath of Khan uniform or nothing. Botany Bay! Botany Bay! Oh no! We got to get out of here. Damn! Stuff like that. I want to have a Khan uniform. That would be cool. Either the Space Seed ones when they're like wearing jumpsuits, one color, one piece jumpsuits, or the chest open one with like the friggin' necklace and shit. Ricardo Montalban. But I like those uniforms in that one because they had like the little tearaway pieces and the script, like the thing up here and the buttons up and down the side and the little. Those were awesome. The classic Trek 2 uniform is fucking awesome, man. They got like little friggin' ribbed. They look like they're knit sweaters underneath. Going around. They look like they're proper Navy uniforms. Like they'd be warm if you're out on deck wearing one of those motherfuckers. I've thought about that one too much. Probably. Someone else was saying that as good as I am doing Walk Like an Egyptian on a banjo, Susanna Hoffman has got something on me when it comes to looks. And I'm like, well, you know, Halloween's coming. She's going to be like that, and she moves this way just a tiny bit. So she moves and crosses her own line here. She's getting ready to cross her line. Just look at it, literally cross her line. This is what this is called. So before it happens, she got a stick to help not make it happen. But she's decided to take pictures from this side of the accident with that camera. Faith. What's that, Faith? What are you doing now? What is it so important that she needs to film? Oh, people. Loke wrote, now we're going to do the actual move. So she's on this corner for a few. Insert Loke wrote again. And then by the time she gets around that way, and it's slightly that way, put my silver car on film so I could ask why. Insert Loke wrote. Now, 10, 20. Interesting. I don't know what she's doing for not quite as many frames this time. But here's the first one when she's back. Now she's pointed across the street, last building. I think that's the bank. No, the bank beyond. Bank's over here, this one. Am I wrong? Or is that not the middle one? So it's this one she's looking at now. She doesn't seem to have moved, but that don't mean nothing. Insert Loke wrote. Go back 1, go back 2, go back 3. Update that rotation just a tiny little bit. Insert Loke wrote. Go forward a key. Go forward a frame, sorry. Keyframe, keyframe. Forward another frame. Oop. -4. Last time was +4. This time -180. Last time plus. Now everything is keyframed for that flip of camera. Here it is. So now we're ready for the rest of her very short and rapidly devolving clip. She's going to head up through the accident scene. The fire truck is here now. Didn't actually see it arrive. Probably would have heard it arrive. Oh, no, no fire truck yet. What am I saying? There goes a truck getting through. Big-ass Ford. There's the fire truck. She's still on this side of the park of the line on the. Moves forward maybe a half step. She's on the stop line is where she is. She's actually holding position and filming like sensible. If I do say so. And I do, I say so. When she does, she does. Well, when she doesn't, she does. When she goes, she goes. I watched one too many movies from Britain. Okay, we're holding on the second building now. No, it's the first one. It's the second one, right. Insert wrote again. Okay, holding on this building right until the medic comes into her shot, and then she tracks on her. This is great. This is perfect. This is awesome. Perfect. Now hold it. Line. Medic. Look at the stop line. Look at her position. She's zoomed in, I contend. She's probably a little too far north. Because she needs to get this shot practically perpendicular to the far sidewalk. So I know now that I've got to move that down this way. Just a fraction. She zoomed in, so the farthest angle should be at the end of the... should be at the end there. Grab Y. Maybe she's back that far? No, it can't be. That or the car is further down than I think. I think that'll turn out to be about right. So there's a change in my Y coordinate for the last several. I want to transfer over. We can see it right here. She didn't move up or down that much for several. But that's the last time she did move, so I'm thinking yeah, I'm thinking these two I had way wrong. Grab Y. And I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. Probably could go down a little lower too. So she's more or less holding position from this moment. Then I get her going across the road. Then I get her tracking the medic. And then I get another camera move. So whenever she snaps back here, that's where I want to get the keyframe. Allowing for some kind of eased motion, because she does take her time with her camera moves. So I need to get the end of this pointing over here roughly. Really on the edge of that line would be ideal. But it's to the right of that. Or it's to the left, I mean. Insert road again. She shifts from one building to the other there. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'll do it over the space of that long. Insert float rote. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Going to put another one in right where the last one was. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Practically looking straight across the street. Is the stop line can't be to her left. It must be to her left. She's looking at the corner of the building, straight across. Now she's moving forward. She's decided to start walking quite a bit, right? She switched corners. She's going over to the other side, hey? I'm trying to figure the moment that she starts moving. Sir wrote there. I think she's going to start moving. There we go. That's her motion stabilization doing her a favor. That's when she stops moving. She'll be all the way over here. She'll be behind people again. She'll be looking north past the light pole or the utility pole. This is well back from the corner. Insert rote. Got to go through this one 10 at a time. So until this moment, the rotation is going to be about there. Then a turn. Yeah, blue SUV gone. Service vehicle still there. The van, is that gone too? The van's still there. So at this moment it should be pointed at the van. That one. I mean, right up and down the street. Making our way across. Insert rotation. There's the last mark. Moving forward. Say she starts moving forward right about now, and this is clearly when she's pointed that way. So that's to the right of her line. She seems to be getting farther this way too as she's doing it. She must be getting away around people. Insert rote on that one. Here we go. Move forward, move forward. Get to the corner and start moving around people. That's what this motion is. She's getting around a person laterally. Going around the back of them. Probably touching them with one of her hands. You'd think. Insert rote. Here we go. Insert rope for that one, rotation. Looks to me like this is her lateral move around a person. And then she gets that line. She's going to have some perspective of motion across there, but so she still gets that line though. She must be farther back or farther over. That car finally getting to go? That one? Looking for the moment she stops moving. It seems to be about there. She seems to be resetting. Again, about a lateral move about this direction. Trying to shoot around people. And now our angle is clearly rotated that way. So she's looking up almost towards there. Insert rote. She doesn't move very much, if at all, during this section. It's just however much jostling people mover. Have you noticed people appear to be filming with phones, but phones have black screens? Yeah, sometimes, although that is sometimes a power saving measure. Otherwise the batteries die too quick. Turn off the backlit screen as much as you can, or turn it as dark as possible. And then update, depending on the camera you're using, it'll be sometimes, if it's updating at a different frequency, you won't see all the picture anyway. You see banding and barring in it due to a slight shift in the updates frequency. This frame rate, that frame rate, so to speak. Where are we? That's Faith's last one? Okay. She goes to the end of the van and then to here. Into the van and then to here. Well up the road, white building at the top. Got to be pointing pretty much at the white car here. Not at that van. Still in the cone on this side. But the white car behind people and building and around and back that. Then over. Right on the corner. hold the corner for a bit even. It is a little strange at times, but some people don't look at the cameras for to frame stuff. They just hold them up. Faith doesn't need... I guess Faith needs to see to some degree. She's using image stabilization. She gets it by zooming in. And because she's zoomed in, it makes her look like she's closer to stuff than she really is. Like, these people are not right here in front of her. They're back here. They're closer to the yellow line than they are to her. And that gray line is the yellow line. They're somewhere in between, right? Not near as close as they seem. That's 8 meters away. Length of a car or more. Looks like they're right on top of her. Look at their angle. I know that that angle is on the right line of the camera. Like that. She's moving a little bit there for that move. She grabs and goes over here and then rotates well past that. Is that too much? Nope. So she's going to hold that camera move. Make sure I got that right angle here. I think so. Bloke wrote. She's going to get all the way to the corner again. Looks like I can see what drives away Faith. That explains it. Faith won't stand around there if they're the wrong type stands in front of her. That's when she starts moving. She's going to hold that angle for a long time, but she starts moving now. Along the length of the sidewalk to where the little vehicle is. She gets around it through the FD. Right to there. It's over the top of the rag top, right? She's beyond that even. Sir Low wrote, no way she made it that far. He's on the other side of the yellow line though, isn't he? Yeah. Too bad that Pat with the 360 wasn't down there today. Since Pat stayed at Lee Park. Yeah, I don't even know who Pat is yet. I'll figure that one out later. Who's Pat? Here we go. Look, once we make these really small, we can see that there's not a whole heck of a lot happening here. But I've been laying down a lot of keyframes for Faith. Faith is a busy camera. And Faith's a long camera. I might have to update a few of these tonight. She's on that line, and then she starts moving. Oh. So yeah, he's well on the inside of that yellow line. Ain't he? That red thing. God, she gets past him. 1, 2, 3. He's like up on the second and third one. Between them. Where did I put her? Yeah, past though. She gotta get past him. She got to go around them too. She gets past it. She's up to about here. And therefore looking that way more. Insert road. Going to do these just by rotation now. Up and down their line. And she must be over, grab X. She must be this way more. She's going it around. So that gets me my line back. Up and down the length of the building. Insert road. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Insert wrote 10, 10, 10, 10. That's a really good one. All the way over here, like past the passenger side car door. Looks like she's on the inside part of... more this way. And rotated more that way. Going to turn definitively toward that corner. Going to move at least a step forward. Going to keep moving too. Till she bumps. So now she's looking like from about here and from behind the stop line on the corner. Stop sign, not line. Like that way. Whew. Yeah, I'm reaching epoch. My own epoch is being reached. But today's done and boldly fought. I'll put another 20 minutes in on this and then I'm out of here. But hey, I wonder. I'm getting a lot of keyframes laid down here. I'm not going to bed right away. That's the problem. I want to sit down and do nothing for a little while, and before I allow myself to do that, I gotta get to like some semblance of goal, and that means finishing up Faith Goldie, if how possible, in about 20 minutes. And that's doable if I don't get too technical with it and just start grinding and then fix later. She's moving over to the side there. Maybe hovering back and forth a bit. Looking all the way up the run. She must move back this way for this move to be true. Bit behind the line of the stop sign again. Tricky Faith Goldie. I think she probably gets a step or two that way in that time. Well, that's a lot of buffalo. Oh no, I gotta roll first that way. And then insert rote. Now we're going to do a little roundabout. Isn't this guy the one that's really the one that's creeping her out? That looks like the white car. No, that looks like the red minivan. That looks like the building and the tree beyond the intersection. The tree should be somewhere in around here, around the front of it. Insert rotation. Insert another rotation right here. She changes her camera there. I am going to go to bed. Or I'm going to sit down and relax for the rest of the evening, morning. Head's starting to pound. No, not pound, but eyes getting dry. Too much slack-jawedness. However, faith is very, very nearly done. What we're off on faith here is so little. It's so little. Oh. I could push another round. That was only 5 minutes. There's nothing. What are you, a man or mouse? I'm a mouse. I'm a man. I'm a man. Hey, night warp drive. No worries. What I need to do here is like soundly whip this thing before putting it to bed or putting it in the freezer and letting it set like a jello. Soundly whip it. WHHW. Wrote. I did try doing PayPal some time ago. I need to make another. This was a long time ago. So I need to straighten something up with PayPal. However, I don't know whether the other crowdfunding alternatives like Patreon or something, if they require a PayPal account or not. I'm very strongly considering Patreon. Very, very strongly. Considering the difference in my numbers from last month and this month. In fact, last month and any month in my past. If I could maintain that kind of interest level, not doing this for the rest of my life, not this particular project. I mean, because I'm getting clear of this as soon as possible. And something that would make up for the difference of like if I put in a lot of time here, and I put in hours, then it would be nice to get some compensation for that effort. However, if I monetize through YouTube, I'm going to have to start worrying about who's got the rights for what. Takes a full 2 seconds for her to do another camera change, and then she's already on the way out of there. But the same guy is in the frame before and after, so she does like a friggin' 180. She's going to be set on the opposite corner. Wherever he seems to be here and moving in the opposite direction. She's going to get to here. She will be rotated like that. That is her rote. I go back one. Oh, no. I go back 1 frame. I go back 2 frames. I go back 3 frames. I give her another rote. Go forward a frame. That one and that one. I go forward a frame. +4. +180. Scale or save. The dude is right there now, to the left of her line. On her left, our right. Sure, I would warp drive. I might well get a Patreon set up in the next several days, if not today or tomorrow, because that would be very useful. Very, very useful. No argument. I actually like any and all input. It's not necessary to throw money at me most of the time. Even when I go busking, I don't care if I make a lot of money. I'm kind of I get like a dollar figure in mind most of the days I go down on the street now. I go down for that much and no more. That's all I want. But this type of work, if it was to turn into a long-term effort, I would gladly maintain this kind of work ethic when it comes to doing long hours and all. She's walking right up the yellow line. No, right up this side of the white line. This is the easiest part of this. She's going to walk away from this the whole time. How hard could this be to figure for a move? Wow. Oh my God, one long move for this last. This is insane. This is insane. Do you see this? I gotta lay 2 more keyframes here. Maybe 3. She's gonna go from there to there in one move. One camera move. Maybe it's only about that far. We don't see the side of the brick building over here, so she can't get much that farther than that, but she's not zoomed in as much. I think she's about to there. And rotate that way. Go back in time. Like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. By this moment, she's already rolled herself mostly parallel to the road, mostly rotation. Then Past the end of the fire truck. Past the end of the gray minivan. No. Yeah. Maybe I put that way too far. Yes, yes, sir. Past the end of the gray minivan. The beige one. Here's how simple this is to fix. Grab Y. That's a simple estimation difference, but maybe she won't make it much farther. She's looking up there, yeah? She stops there after taking like maybe 3 steps. This car is going to be long gone out of there by now. I might as well do this to make this simpler to deal with. Got a disco, got a disco. Got a disco, got a disco. No, not the end. That's the end of the clip, yeah. End of the clip, yes. She should hold this position for a little bit. That's what I'm thinking. As far as she gets before she holds. So I'm going to grab right there and I wrote. How long? Till there. Insert wrote again. Now watch that. This gets the move, I think. She with a hold. Then she moves again, but she's moving from the rest. Not much curving in her angles or anything. Just taking what comes in behind her. Clears the gray again. White car is already gone. Uh-huh. That's the cones at the beginning of the parking lot. Over here. I think she gets all the way up to there. I think she gets pretty much clear to there. So wherever that is, grab and on the X, put up to there. That's where I'm ending it. That's where I'm ending the clip. That's not the actual end of the clip. But that gets us through. That gets us all the way through round 35. Woo, baby. Until later, peeps. My name is James PFP. That's James to you. This is the Banjocast. Pitchforks, flaming torches. Come back, leave us a comment. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Subscribe if you feel like it. I could use subscribers. And yeah, I am considering going to Patreon, and very soon. Zol. If I have a link for that purpose so you can see it later on today. Thank you very much for watching.